What's going on, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me okay. And if you could please hit like on the stream, I'd appreciate it. It helps out the channel and me. And I'm just gonna get ready here. Glad you can hear me. Let's shed some light on this subject. A little bit of pun action there for you. Free of charge. Free of charge. All right, here we go. Let me smack this. Boop, pop, 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 pop. Hey, look at that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. So, Z9 firmware. Yeah, there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot that just happened. There's a lot we expected, and there's a lot that people still wish, right? So I figured we would talk about a bunch of it and give you guys my perspective on it, being that I actually got to try it out. Not in the most glorious fashion. I got a total of like an hour max, and it took them quite a while just to explain everything that was in this first before we did anything else, right? So it's really hard to do these videos first of all, you don't get to know anything about it when you walk into it. They give you a clock that's ticking right off the bat. You get a camera that you're not allowed to keep with whatever's on there, and then they run down everything about what's going on in it, and then you got to relay it coherently in a video, and then that's pretty much where it goes, right? So you guys are gonna hear the train a lot. It is rush hour here in New York. I picked the worst time ever to do this, but I was thinking of doing a video for this, but then I'm running out of time. I'm heading out of town for a while. I'm gonna be teaching at Shutterfest. I'm gonna be at NAB. So I figured going live and just talking with you guys would probably be the best way to go about it. I didn't wanna miss out on this, but I know there's like a shock of wow, and also like a bunch of moaning and groaning from people, because that's what happens in this industry. You guys are all spoiled brats, and you want everything. And then you go, why isn't my Z6 from 4 years ago a Z9? Why don't I have firmware updates? There's also a batch of realism that you need to put on top of everything else, right? So what just happened? If you're not familiar, the Nikon Z9, this camera right here, is the flagship for Nikon right now, being their top tier mirrorless camera with the most powerful processor I think they've ever put out, and it's been well received all over the place. They just put out the Firmware 2.0 for this camera, which they announced basically day one. When they said they put out, when they put the Z9 out there, right away they go, but wait, there's more. And the first headliner was 8K 60 raw 12-bit internal video, and everybody was like, oh. So it kind of showed that there's some power going on here, you know? So as the months went on, the rumblings behind the scenes were getting louder and louder, that there was more in this thing than you could think, that this update is incredibly substantial, and I'm gonna personally say this might be the biggest firmware update I have ever seen come to cameras, or ever really. I think the only firmware that's come close to something this much of a change and upgrade to the hardware was when Fuji put out a firmware update that made one of their 1080 video capable cameras to do a 4K resolution, and it was like, wait, what? And it was free. So this is a free firmware update for all Z9 owners, and the new cameras coming off the line will obviously have the Firmware 2.0. It is available for download on the 20th, which means we've got 6 days to go as of the time of this stream. Why do I feel like I'm constantly like changing heights? I bet you the vibration from the train is constantly making this camera go like this. Anyway, the one thing I will say is, Nikon just seems like they're taking off the gloves really slowly, one finger at a time. you don't really ever hear of Nikon being the first to do something so much, but you do hear about Nikon doing things more refined after it's been put out there, you know, and it's pretty awesome to see that they're going all in on supporting the cameras. They still give firmware updates to 4-year-old cameras. Can they give you new features in something with a processor that wasn't built for this? Probably not. The technology moves fast, and 4 years is almost a lifetime nowadays, right? I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You're looking at me on a Z6 original right now. You've seen me shoot demos with a Z6 II. I understand the pain, but I also understand that what we get in our hands is phenomenal these days. It really is. I know there's people that are like born into the industry now and they think that this is everything could be better, but I don't think you realize what it's been like for the past 2 decades as a guy who started my career in film, moved into DSLR, now we're in mirrorless, and just how good it's getting is insane. First of all, what's going on, everyone? Ronald, Marcus, Small Brown Fox, Chops, Rakesh. What's going on? This camera is the Z6 I original that was probably from the original run. I think this camera is probably running over 3 years old now, and I just been using it for video all the time. One thing I will say about what's going on with the Z9 is the first mistake I think people are making is that they're thinking this is some attempt at cinema for Nikon, and I don't think that's true. Yeah, they're doing 8K. Yeah, yo, Swole Beast, I haven't seen you in a live chat ever. Love your comments, man. Thank you so much for being the first ever to drop comments and being super loud in my comments. I appreciate it. This Z6 left my desk once, I can tell you that. I have 2 Z6s, this one and the one you guys see at the studio filming me for the videos I put out on this channel. I also have a Z6 II. I had a Z7, but I let that go. I was on loan from Nikon, and I just never really moved into that camera. I kept on going to the Z6 for some reason. Then this came out, and now this is like everything right now. So yeah, what I'm gonna say is, this isn't Nikon's attempt to get into the cinema space. This is Nikon giving video capabilities to their pros that might be doing mixed systems, that might need to offer some sort of video or to offer higher end, higher quality video. But I'm not gonna go and think that all of a sudden this is an Ari Alexa or a Red, or people that keep on asking for features that are basically mirror imaging what Blackmagic has out there. Well, then go get Blackmagic. You clearly want what they're going for. Will there be more going on in the Z9 for firmware updates going forward? Yeah, I kind of do. I actually believe it. I mean, winks and nods happen all the time, and I keep thinking and hearing all this stuff about, well, there'll be more updates later on down the line. Will it be this massive? I don't think so. This was a huge, huge update in so many regards. It's crazy. I had to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of notes while they were crash coursing me on the firmware, and it was like it was never ending. Are there things I wish they would implement in this? Absolutely. Do I think they'll come true? I have no idea. I didn't see some of the things coming this way. The first thing I didn't see coming this way, honestly, was the pre-cap, was this. So this is the idea of you can shoot and know that your camera will start pre-recording images as you have to press the shutter before you shoot, and then while you keep that shutter depressed, it'll still keep recording shots. And you can set this to 0.3, 0.5, or a full second before you start shooting, and you can set it up to 1, 2, 3, or 4 seconds after you're shooting. Now the caveat to this one is it's JPEG only, right? Now my first question is, will we see an update where they do the high efficiency star raw, the new raw format that's super small, it's like half the size of a regular raw file, and basically gives you an infinite buffer in the camera for burst shooting? Will we see that in a future update? I think the problem that they're running into is they are trying to keep everything, 14-bit stills, and they won't drop the quality down to 12-bit like where Sony was doing with the A1, where 30 frames per second RAW isn't full on RAW. There's caveats to it. I don't think they're willing to do that to give us 30 frames RAW or to give us pre-capture in RAW. We'll see. I think it would be really amazing if they did the HE Star RAW for the pre-capture. I think it's an incredible add-on. It is the first time we are seeing this in full frame at full resolution with no crop. If you look at other cameras like the Lumix S1, yeah, the S1, it has 4K and 6K photo mode. What that's doing is basically shooting video and pulling stills. That's really, it's basically in the title, right? Is everybody with me? Is this coherent for you guys? So they dropped the resolution down to like 8 megapixels, and there's like a 1 point something crop on the frame. But you are able to do the pre-capture, right, on a full frame camera. This is the full sensor. That's kind of nuts. Would this be an upgrade from my D7500? I don't think you... A D7500, or do you mean D750? A D7500 is a higher end, low tier class of camera. I mean, video functionality alone, a Z6 original will outshine that camera, the D7500. So depends what it is. It's a Micro Four Thirds feature, the pre-capture, but Micro Four Thirds is 1/4 the size of full frame. That's 1/4 the data that's required to process to create it. So to have 46 megapixel full res full sensor having pre-capture and shoot and clear the buffer, and it's crazy. It's absolutely bananas to me. And post capture. So Chop says, can you talk about the autofocus improvements? It's the least thing being talked about. You know what? I think it's the least thing being talked about because I think everyone that got the firmware update got the same deal we got, which was, here's a couple hours, go do a video, and you spend most of the time just trying to remember what the features are and the data is to relay it properly and accurately and film. You're not really going out there to do demos too much. But I will say, talking to Ricci, who had the firmware update for a couple months now, I think, he's noticeably he's seeing noticeable improvements. Like he's extremely happy with the way it's tracking subjects, how quick it's grabbing, how you can tune it to stick to things. So people are doing it. Nikon 1 did pre-capture in 2014. Yeah, but the Nikon 1 wasn't a full frame camera, if I'm correct, right? Nikon 1 was Nikon 1. I'm just curious what the sensor size of that camera was. Yeah, that's a 1-inch sensor, isn't it? I'm gonna say. Let me see if I can look up some specs. That's what people overlook is, well, this had it first. Olympus already did that. Yeah, on Micro Four Thirds, a sensor that is incredibly smaller, has, you know, you're going to run into noise issues. ISO will only go up to 20 megapixels max. You're looking at a 46 megapixel full frame image doing this now. That is crazy. The Nikon 1 did die before it could go. This is a 13:8 CMOS sensor, so that is nowhere near full frame. So, but hey, they also had the D90, which was doing video before anybody, and then they let that go as well. So Nikon's been playing these games forever, but it really seems like they're going, no, we're going all in. So for a free firmware update to give you everything you're getting here is kind of crazy. The other things you're getting are stuff like this, the blend mode in camera. This means that if you are someone shooting for a publication and something like this happened at the Olympics and you shot it as such, you could go right into your blend mode on your camera, get it up to wire, and this is done. There's no overlaying a bunch of shots in Photoshop and trying to process and get it out. You did it in camera and you're done and you're out. That's pretty remarkable, you know? I think people don't realize how much processing power stuff like this takes, and the more you can do in camera, the faster you're working, the more you are going to get out there in the world and get back to shooting, you know? They should be able to do HE Star at non-star at 20 frames a second. I don't think to put through any 30 frames a second JPEG. What is the menu issues? I'm not sure what you're saying there. I don't think the throughput is any more than 30 frames a second JPEG. I wonder if so it is more. So RAW, no matter what, is going to be more than JPEG when you're talking about 14-bit. None of the raw capabilities drop into 12-bit raw. And the bit rate, that is really where the chunk of the data happens. It's not at just the resolution. So all these talks about like different raw files, they're still 14-bit. The camera can't actually do 12-bit. So that's where you're kind of running into an issue, all right? The other thing that's unbelievable is being able to size your autofocus area to whatever shape and size you want. Canon has this in the R3 and it's awesome. Well, now Nikon has it. It's great. It really is. They really did a crazy job. Listen, this is a camera that was already $1,000 under market expectations, and now you're getting like another 1/3 extra camera on top of it for free. It's crazy. Have you tried the new silent functionality? It's supposed to be better signal that you're taking pictures. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Chops. I'm sorry. I'll say I have my shutters set to the volume all the way down, and since the speaker is here, you're probably not even going to hear it. Let me pause this music. Let me see if you can even hear this. Can you even hear that? I can hear it. Let me put it on. Can you guys hear it? I can totally tell I'm taking frames though. So the silent is really awesome in this. On other cameras, the speaker is like here or somewhere like up top a little bit, and everyone's listening to it. If you just want confirmation for yourself, you're able to do that when the speaker is just going right into your own face and you're hearing it, you know? Oh, you can hear it? Okay, cool. The other thing that that they're saying, this is what they're saying. So you're looking at improvements in auto white balance, which I didn't even find the white balance was an issue ever. And the one thing that I got to try and really feel a difference of was being able to double the frame rate of the EVF. It is crazy smooth, and I am so excited about that. And the EVF, while I was messing with it, never fluctuated or dropped in resolution or frame rate while it's focusing like other cameras do to mitigate the processing power needed for the EVF. It's like the EVF is fine when you're not doing anything, then in other cameras, then when you start focusing, you can notice it like dropping or on certain things. So it's pretty nuts. I wouldn't call this a Mark II Z9, and I'm gonna say that because it's not like they changed anything physical or hard about it. And while we are seeing cameras come out that seem like they're just firmware updates, Nikon never really did that. When they put another camera out, there's really something changed to it, you know? The one thing I'm really wondering about is how much the battery consumption goes down once you start adding up all these specs that you're force feeding into this thing, you know? I hear one can set the focus point size. Yeah, so you can actually dial in, let me show you. You can actually dial in whatever shape you want, vertical, horizontal. I mean, you can go like a tiny bar slit of just single point across the frame if you wanted to. This thing is nuts. I was so psyched on it. And you know, I think people that are, you know, striking down a tripod and knowing exactly what they're going to shoot can just be super confident that they're staying in just where they want. Like here, all they want are the faces of the runners. Well, they have the focus area set to the face of the runners. Also, I will note that there's like a forgiveness level around the frame that if it's just outside of the frame, it'll still stay with it. It's not like it's a hard borderline. Like it knows kind of that your subject went a little bit out of that frame you're making, you know? The focus point size is animated. What do you mean by that? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, they really thought of a lot here, and they did what they could. And also keep in mind, this firmware update is coming where the cameras started shipping Christmas of last year. That means January, February, March, April. Less than 4 months after shipping this camera to people who bought it, mainly NPS members, you're getting you're getting all these extra specs. Like, how crazy is that? All right. I mean, something needs to be said for this. The other thing that I find super interesting about this, oh, Ab is texting me right now. Yeah, I'm live right now on my YouTube talking about it. So the other thing that I think shows commitment from Nikon is they're actually bringing out hardware, right? Check this out. You have basically a cine grip kind of thing going on here. Of course, it's not going to have power zoom. They wouldn't be able to implement that, but this is pretty great to be able to make anything happen. You want to, for a video, so if you want to do like a shoulder mount and then have your grip here, you can do it, right? It's wired in. Man, my eye just got really itchy. So it's showing that they're really going into it. And I think the price of this was something like, I don't know, I think it was like $800 or something. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. I have no idea. But what I think is really important to note here is that Nikon was legit getting beat up left and right by anyone and everyone on social media that doesn't really shoot Nikon. And they just took the hits, stayed quiet, and now all their ducks are in a row. The 800 PF, smaller, lighter, half the price of a lot of other 800s. The Z5 is probably the most affordable and most powered full frame camera, single mirrorless camera out there. What you get with the Z6 II for the price is awesome. I'm sorry, like, yeah, I know there's people that can complain about things up and down. You know, not every camera is going to be exactly what you want, or people expect things that just aren't even a reality, honestly. People that complain about the Z6 II's autofocus, I don't understand it because I've been using it to pay my bills for a while. Like, I don't see it. Could there be improvements? Always, but I don't think any of it's like bad, you know? I think people need to just step back and really look at what's going on here. There's going to be a lot more glass announcements from Nikon. The system is fleshing out. They're going all in on this Z9. They've put out firmware updates for the 6.2 and 7.2 to improve the autofocus. Are they going to give you what's in here? No, because it's a brand new processor at a higher end. They can't make a camera that doesn't have the processing power of this, which is 10 times the processing power of the Z6 and 7.2, all of a sudden magically do it, you know? I just think they got all their stuff in a row. They restructured, right? They closed the factories they had to close, consolidated what they had to consolidate, and now they're moving forward. And they seem to be one of the only companies actually shipping. The people are having a hard time getting other manufacturers' products out there. There's stuff that's been released like almost a year ago that's still not fully fulfilled pre-order wise, you know? What if I need clickbait views? Are you saying these things like, yeah. So the other one thing I get a lot, which I think is funny, is they go, oh, I just can't handle the weight of this camera. This camera, with just the body, is 1 pound heavier than like an A1. If you put an A1 in with a grip on it, they start equaling out pretty quickly. And I'm actually finding glass for other cameras heavier than what's coming out with the Z series personally, or maybe it's balanced differently, just feels lighter to me. And then after a while you go, well, now the weight's equal because now the specs are equal. And it goes, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? To me, this is light. I think because I grew up in bigger camera land with film and DSLRs, all these kids that are growing up in mirrorless just don't understand substantial weight, I guess. But this isn't a heavy camera to me. It really isn't. I mean, this is, what? I was walking around in the freezing cold with this thing with an 800mm on it, like I was walking around with a 24-70 on a mid-range camera. It was nothing. It was crazy to me. And you see that I don't use straps. I'm always holding these things. So I'm not going to cheerlead this camera. Are there things I would want to see? If you guys want to hear what I would like to see, I can go in on that. When do you think supplies will be available for Nikon will reopen its old factories? Honestly, I think Nikon's gearing up to ship the next batch of these fairly soon. I think they actually were probably holding them back in order to ship them with the new firmware off the line, if that makes sense. So instead of them going out there and then having you download it, they're going to ship now that the firmware is out and ready to go, you know? If the Z9 is heavy to you, then go to the gym. Yeah, definitely go to the gym. But cameras like the R3, which are similar body shape, are ridiculously light. So, you know. The firmware update that came out for this camera is so unprecedented, I don't think you guys realize it. And the list just kept going and going and going. Like, it was insane. The video features, and you'll still get people that are spamming my comments with the same copy and paste of, why doesn't it do this, I want to do 422 this, blah, 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 that. Why isn't it doing this frame rate, that. It's like, whoa, calm down. You are getting an insane amount of new options here for free. You don't have to send this to the manufacturer like old Canons had to do that, like the DSLRs, I believe, had to go back. The Z6 II had to go back to manufacturer to get the raw update. This is just downloadable. And to give you an idea of how big the update is, it takes almost like 6 to 10 minutes for the camera to update. That's how big it is, you know? The Z6 III and 7 III are going to be the cameras to watch. When they start putting this processor into those cameras and adding features, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very, very interesting. One of the things I would like to see happen, though, is the control rings on the lenses that you can customize. Right now, they're only for exposure controls, ISO, EV compensation, I think shutter speed and aperture, right? What I would like to see is if I can get warm and cool Kelvin in here, right? I just want to be able to dial in on the fly my white balance, which you can do on Canon. I've seen it, which is super cool to just be able to do that on the fly in your camera while you're out there in the field as sunlight's changing on you and whatever else. Yeah, you can change white balance later with raw files, but I shouldn't have to think like that. Like, I just kind of want to have this ring be my white balance. If it would let me do that, I would be super excited about that. Is the focus position for programmable focus modes? Remember if the camera's turned off or need to reset when you can set the camera to remember where your focus point last was. It doesn't reset if you don't want it to. I have mine, I think, set. Let me see. I don't even know if I have it set to anymore. No, it remembers. Mine remembers where it was. So I have it set to that. But I also have this, which button do I have mapped? I also have this button mapped to return to center in case I'm going crazy and I just want to really quickly have a starting point. I tap my third button and I'm back into my autofocus point, goes right back to my center. And that's how I have that programmed. Was the Z9 rushed, or were all these updates just work since the release? I don't think the Z9 was rushed at all. I think they put out a camera that was done and they said, well, we can do more. Well, do we want to wait another 6 months to put it out there with all of this? Or do we want to be really smart and put out a camera, have all this buzz, everyone's happy with it, and then do a second release? They're basically getting a second launch of the Z9 right now. This is conversation everywhere. No one's got another flagship right now. The R3 has been out there. The A1 has been out there. No one's putting anything out there blockbuster. The Z9 is almost like getting a second life, and it's barely in everyone's hands yet, you know? Would that processor and EVF take my money now? Yeah. Was the blend mode pretty intuitive? I didn't use it, so I couldn't tell you. Again, I don't think you guys realize how quick we have to do that video. You have never seen me do a video where I had to read specs off my phone. That's how fast we had to get that one done. I know, I saw RP Einstein, you've been pasting this one. I don't know what you're saying about 24p, because it does 24p, but if you're going to tell me that it's 29, let me the one thing I'm going to say about all this, like, I wish it was Netflix this or cinema that, like I started this off with, this isn't a cinema camera. What they're doing is going, hey, you photojournalist, hey, you wedding shooter, just flip to this, and now you've got 8K 12-bit raw video to offer your client. Now you can, while you're out there, do a two-person interview and punch in and still keep 4K. Now you have a camera that doesn't overheat. It doesn't. I mean, it barely gets warm for me. Now you have a camera that's that versatile, that can give you high-end stills, fast stills, great autofocus, and you even have all this extra video capability. No one's trying to make this a cinema camera. This might be a back door into getting some cinema or filmmaker or like run and gun filmmaker type guys that may be using Nikon or want to use Nikon to start using a Z9. But this is not Nikon saying, drop your Ari here, drop your Blackmagic, take this. They're not doing that. They're going, oh, you are into our system? Well, here's more stuff for you. That's what they're doing. So all this like, I wish it was this, you know, what's the missing 0.02 messing up? What are you talking about? 0.02. The thing that astonishes me is that they are clearly developing over there. They are clearly innovating over there, and it just gets more and more exciting because if Nikon's doing this, Sony, Canon, Fuji, they're all gonna start gearing up too, man. Well, the 2398 is like a regional thing, right? So some place, from what I understand, based on frame rate, is like some 24 frames is standard. I think the 2398 it has something to do with like sync. I'm not sure. I'm not really not a 100% video person, but I just don't see this being a handicapped camera because of that. And you're talking about like being Netflix approved, like there's like 4 cameras approved by Netflix. Like that's one application. What about everyone that's not shooting for Netflix? Like it's such, like I get so irritated by the people that like no matter what comes out, it's like copy and paste novels of things that just can't happen or won't happen. Hey, what's up, Ab? The one thing I wish it did do recording out of the USB-C to an SSD, so you don't have to rely on cards. That'd be great because the 8K 60 12-bit is a lot of data that will give you way little on the minutes, right? It's like 13 minutes of video on pretty big cards, you know? So it's just, you know, that's true. Shift 11. If you need Netflix approved, go rent and make Netflix pay for the show. But again, this isn't a cinema camera. This is them taking a mirrorless pro stills camera and giving you so much more capability. I mean, find someone doing ProRes internal full frame in a camera. Find another camera that's doing that, because the R5C, a cinema camera, isn't doing that. You're not getting ProRes RAW there. Is Nikon memory card rebranded ProGate Cobalt? I do not know. I don't know what that Nikon card is. I'm sure it's a resticker. But again, I've been sticking to all my Angelbird cards. These have been super affordable. Like, here. These have been super affordable at 200 bucks. And I also have the 500 gig, 512 gig version, but this one is slower, which usually happens with bigger cards. So you have the 512 and the one. These are the two cards. Oh, is this upside down? These are the 2 cards I've been using. And I did an episode of Rewind about it. So, but 200 bucks for cards. Then you look at the A1, and the A1 has CF Express Type A, which can't go to 512 gigs and is a ton of money, and that's the only, there's only 2 cameras that take that memory right now, you know? I need to buy one of those graduations. Yeah, I'm telling you, these are such a good value. They got heat dissipation on them apparently, so I'm gonna be meeting up with Angelbird at NAB later this month, so there you go. You can't watch Netflix on a Z9, forget it. You know, I just, every time I use this camera, I have a hard time finding qualms with it. I pick up other cameras and I quickly find things that just aren't clicking for me, you know? But there's a lot of cameras out there that I really do like the R3. I think the R3 is great. It's just a high price tag at half the resolution, and I'm also not in the Canon system, right? you know, the A1 is a phenomenal camera, but it's really not speaking to me the right way. The GFX 100S is incredible, but it's not doing fast work for me. It's methodical. I did a whole video on that. Check out my video on the GFX 100S. That's my last video I just put out. But I mean, we live in an era where you can buy something and then get even more value out of it later on through firmware. If you don't see this as like, wow, we're spoiled, I don't know what to say to you. I really don't. The R3 is very niche reportage camera, but it's really nice. I really do like the R3. The files look great out of it. They did a good job on the R3. I just think something like the eye control autofocus, I didn't need that. Take it off and save me some money, you know. I'm worried about the data shoes, because as soon as one of those data shoes gets wet on certain cameras, camera fries easily, you know. It's kind of crazy. Hey, what's up, Austin? How are you? Still wishing for quick on-the-fly function to allow me to change from single release to continuous. Single release to continuous? What do you mean? Like go from single shot to continuous? Yeah, but that makes no sense to me, because what I can do is put it on burst mode low and then just set low to being whatever I want it to be. Like I can set it up, I can set it to 3, and all I have to do is just not keep my finger down, and I have single shot. Look, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Oh, I want burst mode? Hold it. Like, that's just bananas to me. That's a qualm. I mean, I shot with that 800 PF with this camera, and I shot birds going through branches, and I wasn't having problems. It was staying on the eye. And then I get comments like, I read online that people have a problem with birds going between branches. It's like, you read online, but you're not using, so why are you even, what? Like, it drives me crazy. The people that are the most vocal about the products out there are the ones that aren't ever touching it, using it, or giving it a shot. I mean, I have the privilege of not only using the gear pre-released, but hearing the engineer's philosophy behind it when they're telling us about it. And it's really incredible when you realize that every decision that happened on these designs there's a person behind it, right? And then when you hear where their methodology was going, it was like, oh, okay, oh wow, you know. What's the Z9 like tethering? How so? The tethering's been great. My only problem with the tethering right now is I can't get HE star to raw format to work in Capture One yet, but they'll have that fixed when Capture One decides to update. And the other thing is I can't show my live view out of the camera if I have USB powered enabled. If I take the USB power off, I can. I didn't know that. I can do power and live view out through the USB on my Z6 II, but I can't do it on the Z9. It was very strange to me. Maybe the firmware update changes that. I don't know. That's the other thing with firmware updates that I don't think a lot of people realize is they list the headlining specs that you get and all the improvements, but there's micro things they change that they don't think are marketable, and you'll find out that there's just things that are smoother and easier in there, you know? It's really amazing how much we get for our investments now. It really is. I think of it this way. If you were ever worried about another camera coming out and you were going to sell your camera to upgrade, you kind of get more breathing room on that because your camera just keeps getting better and better. Everything, I mean, even my lights, my pro photo lights get firmware updates and they get better and better and better. I remember I had a B1 original, I think, or I got the B1X, and they put out a firmware update which made the high-speed sync even better. Like, it actually had better output of power. They did that with the A1X also, the speed lights. They started enabling something called high-speed sync boost, which force-fed more power out of the strobe, all from a firmware update. I didn't have to buy another light because that light had more power. They just gave us more they just give us more ability through firmware. Is HE Star supported by Photoshop? I don't know. Again, I haven't been shooting it because I can't get Capture One to read it, and I primarily use Capture One. So I've just been sticking to full-on RAWs. I haven't been doing anything else, you know. But it's really incredible. And you know what? They're going to keep on making improvements, and they're going to keep on adding to it because they can. The processor is there. That's what you were waiting for, is the processor. We have the resolutions, we have the image quality, we have the dynamic range. But you needed that to be processed so you get the faster frames per second, so it could shoot while autofocusing, so you could get the no blackout, so you get the faster buffer clearance, you know, better looking EVFs. You know, the 120 refresh frame rate on the EVF shows the processing power being enabled. This is crazy. What's up, Mike? Happy Nikon Day, Mike. I know you're a Nikon head. I mean, they just added so much, and they were just like, here, thanks for sticking with us, because a lot of other people didn't, right? I own a Z9 and love it. My wife doesn't like using it because of the weight. I'm getting used to it. All I'm saying is the heavy camera when used to a Z. Yeah, when you're used to, do I have a Z6 II around here? What is this? Oh man, I don't know where that camera went. Everything I own is in black wraps, and then I can't remember. Oh, I think I stuck it in my bag as a secondary. Yeah, that camera is half the camera in so many regards, right? 4K, not 8K. ENL 15 battery, not an 18 battery. I mean, there's just so, what is it, 14 frames a second, I think, not 20 to 30 frames per second. Like, it's just crazy, you know? What's up, Carl? How are you? As of now, Capture One is the only third-party tethering software available for the Z9. I don't believe Lightroom is tethering it. I think Lightroom can read the HE Star, though. I'm almost certain you can open it up. I remember looking at the HE Star files in something to see if I could see a difference, which I didn't, and I'm almost positive I opened them up in Lightroom. But I don't use Lightroom, and I get lost, honestly. I know. I don't know Lightroom, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not a post-process kind of guy. I'm not. You know, it's, the system just keeps getting better and better. I can't believe they put out the 24 to 120 f4, like the lens I always use like crazy for everything, like sitting there. The close focusing on this is like this. On a 120 millimeter focal length, you have like an 8-inch close focusing. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. All right, cool. The current version of Photoshop. So it's kind of weird. I got a chance to play with the firmware, but I didn't get a chance to use the firmware, which sucks. But hearing, I mean, let me look at my notes because there might be some stuff I didn't even touch on. So first of all, it's not just 8K, it's 8.3K, so it's actually over 8K resolution. The 4K is even sharper now because it's oversampled from 8K, so it's even better 4K. It's 8K that is the full sensor or UHD or DCI, so you have all three formats if you want. There's no caveat, you know, it's like, I mean, you gotta look at this. This is my notes. Look, this is my notes. Look at how many notes. Look at this. I mean, do you have any, I mean, this is, look at this. Look at my notes. That's how much stuff they put into this thing. And it's never enough, right? You know, they added in Nikon RAW format video, so you can actually bend the files to match other cinema cameras if you had to, right? But they're not marketing it as like, hey, get rid of all that cinema gear, you know? I heard there's another firmware update for the Z9 in the pipeline. Yeah, I'm not gonna officially say that, but I'm gonna make my own personal roll of the dice here. I'm officially gonna say somewhere near October, I think we'll see another firmware update. How significant? I don't know, but Nikon's scheduling over the years has been between August and October for releases, and I know this because it's always during my psychotic season of Halloween. So, and the Z9 got announced, I think, right before Halloween, right? Like October, like 26th or 27th, right? Everyone put a setup video, has to redo it. Well, it's almost genius for Nikon to do that. They're getting a second burst of launch videos. It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm really looking forward to getting this firmware in this camera. The firmware I was using in the video was beta, obviously. So I'm wondering if there was like something even more ironed out in there. I don't know. But man, Nikon is just going like this with their gloves, one finger at a time, and it's just very, very exciting. I think the Gen 3 bodies are really going to ignite the Z series on fire. Z6 III, Z7 III. I think we're going to see a crop-bodied camera, a DX APS-C camera that probably is going to be really affordable. I'm talking like $600. I think we're going to see a body from them in the crop sensor market, okay? They've probably got another full frame in the works. I would like to see the Z5 updated. I think they could spruce that thing up a little bit. You know, the Z9 got announced the night of my Halloween workshop. Did it? I remember I was at that workshop, and I think I almost broke my NDA to the whole crowd. Somebody was like, what do you think about the Z9? I remember yelling like, I'm all in. And because I just found out what the Z9 was about, and I was like, oh man, I'm totally buying this camera. And I fought tooth and nail to get on lists to get it in the first batch. And you know what happened to me? I broke a disc in my lower back, and for months I was just looking at this thing. I was like this while laying on my back. I couldn't even use the camera. I mean, I shot sorta, but not really. I can't believe it. It was like that episode of The Twilight Zone where the guy who likes to read books during the apocalypse finally gets to the library with all the books in the world, and he breaks his glasses. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You've gotta be kidding me. I can't believe that happened. But anyway, and you know what I really hope, the biggest thing I hope that comes from this firmware update, from this Z9 as a whole, is that other manufacturers start throwing down on firmware beyond one or two features, a bug fix. I mean, you're just not hearing it, right? Whatever they put out there is like it. And I just think that we as consumers, if you want loyalty to the brand, this is such a good way to do it. I mean, first of all, the price of the camera out of the gate was way lower than we expected. Now you're giving me even more camera for the same price. Man, it's so exciting. The era that we're living in right now is super exciting. So does the groups of bursts allow you to save the best one and easily do the rest? That would be awesome. So they actually did change a couple things on that. So when you shoot a burst, instead of showing you, when you go to review it, instead of going to the last photo you shot and then you have to dial back all the way, it starts the review on the first photo you shot in that burst, which is really useful because typically you're shooting closer to the front end of the burst than you are the back end of it. But you can easily just go into, let me see, let me go into play, and you can easily, oh, come on, dude. Play, minus, you can easily just set up the camera to show all of them and then just tick off which ones you don't want and delete as you need. And you can still use your dial to go through and review all your photos. Like on a Canon, you can do that dial. Well, you can do the same thing with a Nikon with the dial on up top. So, you know, it's, see, I'm not going to sell my D850. My D850 is my last DSLR. It's also a camera that a lot of things happened in my career with that camera when that came out that I like, it's not worth selling for me, and I just want to have at least one optical viewfinder camera in my repertoire. The D850 Air does not match the current vision for mirrorless S-line 1.8 lenses below the f1.4 lens weight. Well, the 1.8 lenses also have like a single motor, not a double motor. They're very affordable, but you know, there's better designs out there, but you're paying for those better designs for sure, for sure. Hey, the good thing about the D850, if you wanted to get one, it'll just get cheaper and cheaper, and there'll be more and more in the used market that you can yoke up if you want to get one. Knock yourself out. But I think that was the last time we saw Nikon being celebrated, was the D850, right? When the Z series got launched, and I was the one who shot the first Z7 that didn't even have a serial number on it. I had the videos on Adorama TV. And the next day when that video came out, all I got was hate. It doesn't have eye autofocus, it's garbage. One card slot, it's garbage. It's like you didn't even use it. Look at the files out of this thing, it's gorgeous. And I understood the qualms, but man, did they just take a beating after beating, and all the YouTube channels just did not lay off of it. The Z9 came out. It's winning Camera of the Year over and over again. You know, it's being praised all over the place. The word impressive is coming out of mouths that called them garbage over the years, right? Like, this is a moment, you know? And I think Canon is due for like some serious wow moment. I think that Canon and Nikon have both been against the ropes with Sony, and now they're kind of like, you know, chill, you know, like really chill. I think that Nikon's actually, and Canon, are rewarding the people that have stayed loyal. They're giving a lot, you know, and they're trying. They're during a chip shortage, during factory fires, during import problems, during infrastructure issues, during inflation, during a time where people don't have money to actually buy gear. You know, it's incredible what we have. You know, I'm so spoiled. I mean, look, do I have an Alpha 1 back here? Where are you? There you are. It's funny because this actually feels heavier to me because the balance of this lens is so front heavy, and the way I have to hold this thing is so like not organic for me personally. I mean, I'm constantly dealing with my finger crunched. And then this feels like it's so balanced. It might be heavier, but this feels so balanced, and this has like a front heavy weight to it that's just awkward to me. But it's a phenomenal camera. This Alpha 1 is a phenomenal camera. I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm not. And it did come out a year ago, right? Like, that's impressive in its own right. I have some of the best photos ever from my Z6, 2, and 7. The Z9 elevated that quality. Yeah, I think once you get this Z9, you're gonna drop that 7 pretty quickly. Just use the Alpha 1 as a webcam? Nah, I use the Alpha 1 when I have to do videos for Sony related gear. You know, Profoto put out the A1X for the Sony shoe for the first time. I had to use a Sony. You know, if the Sigma 105 macro lens came out, I used this camera right here. No, I didn't use this camera. I used the A7R4, and I used this for the 7200 G Master Mark II video. I used this, and I messed around with it and then because I just want to know what other cameras are doing, you know. Sony took 5 generations to get to the A1. Well, Sony also had generations where people kind of just let them off the hook. I mean, the Gen 2 bodies went through overheating, really short battery life, rough EVFs, build quality issues, but the technology was there, right? The progression was there, and people believed in it, and they stayed with that brand, and good for them. And the people that are sticking with Canon or Nikon are now getting the benefits. This camera is the Z6 original. This is the first Z6 right here. Whoop, see? Oh, did I touch something on the back? Is that what I did? Yeah. So, love what Sony did with the A7 IV 33 megapixel. Would love that size for the Z6 III. So the A7 IV, I have an issue with it having a slow rolling shutter. So if you're working with it, you could get some warping issues going on there. I'd rather have 24 megapixels that reads out faster than 33, which is like not super noticeable, honestly, especially depending on your application. But yeah, a 30 something megapixel would be a nice camera to put out there for sure, for sure. Seth, when you do switch from the Z9 back to your Z6 II, does it take a moment to adjust? What do you miss feature-wise from your Z9? The only thing that I have to adjust when I put down the Z9 and pick up a Z6 sometimes is I don't have the 3D tracking autofocus, and I have to remind myself I'm back to working single point the way it is, you know? So I think that the layout's there, the feel of the camera's there, the file look, like the color. Look, I'm a big fan of Nikon's color. It seems to be the best balance of actually being accurate and being good to look at. I rarely have to balance anything after the fact. or adjust for skin tones and stuff like that. Sometimes it goes a little green or yellowy, but very rarely. And if you talk to the calibration companies that do like screen calibration sensors, they'll tell you that Nikon is higher up there for the more accurate colors out there. So I think the file matching feels so relieving to me when I have to. When I'm not buying two Z9s right now. I'm not in that place in my career anymore where I'm buying two full-on $6,000 cameras here, right? But I can use a Z6 II as a secondary camera if I want, and at least I know I can get those colors to look the same, you know? And I also like the menus are virtually the same. There's other camera companies out there that like every other model has a different menu system, and you're like, you don't even feel like you're in a system at that point, you know? So it is what it is. I'm at the point where my hands are not touching a Gen 2 Sony unless I'm okay. First of all, the Gen 2 Sony was, what, 6 years ago? Like, let it go. They discontinued it. The Gen 3 was a great release for them. The A7R3 and A7 III were monster releases for them, hands down. Hands down. I would agree, Seth. I was an early adapter to the Z system, but thought of moving to Sony a number of times over the last few years. Since I got the Z9 in my hands, I felt confident in my decision. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a release that sets the tone for what a company is thinking and how innovative they're getting. The Z9 is that. I mean, this was leaps ahead of what anybody thought it could be. So when we were in the conference room and they were relaying to us the information, you know, non-disclosures, all that, and they said there is no shutter in this camera. It took a second for that to sink in. And then it was like, all right, well, what am I going to lose without having a mechanical shutter? And then you start thinking, well, if you can only use electronic shutter for the high frame rates, as long as you can handle the readout and not having a weird look to it, and it can fire a strobe, what do I really need it for? And then I think the only caveat I have to that is the flash sync is 1/200th. In some cases it's 2/50th though, it is, in some lighting brands. And then someone will tell me that the Alpha 1 has a 400th of a second flash sync, and I say to that, okay, a 200th to a 400th isn't a big enough difference. If you're trying to use shutter speed to battle ambient light, 200 to 400 isn't a big enough jump. 200 to 1,000th, yeah, now you're finally starting to take down that ambient light. 2,000th, you take down that ambient light. High speed sync comes into play around 2,000, 3,000th of a second, you know? So I think we're in a place where it's not a thing. The flash sync just isn't a thing if your lights can handle the high-speed sync properly. Has anyone shot the 120 frames? I did the other day. It's very cool, but now I can come up with a better way to view the images on the camera. Yeah, it's 120 frames that you look at in here. It's tough to go through. I think it's one of those things that you shoot them and then you go check them out later, but it is cool. And the 11 megapixels doesn't feel like low res. It feels like a good file. Is it 46 megapixels? Absolutely not. Is it a JPEG? You better believe it. Is it giving me every split moment? Yeah, it's like shooting 120 video without being at the mercy of a slower shutter speed, and you're able to freeze every frame. You want to shoot at a 2,000th of a second and still do 120, you can do it and freeze every one of those 120. So just so you know, in order to do the other frame rates, there's S, which is single, low, high, and then on the other side of the dial, there's another, I don't even know what this is going to show. On the other side of the dial, there's another burst mode there. I don't know if you can, right there on the other side, that's your 120, and that is going to be your pre-cap mode as well. If you want to do 30 frames per second pre and post cap, or 120 frames pre and post cap, that's where you're going to go. And you know, you spin the dial to get back to the, you know, wherever you want to go. So that's how you do that. The 120 frames is something you whip out for very specific situations. I'll say that. I did move to Sony after hearing about the Z complaints, and after 2 years still ended up circling back to Nikon. Yeah, look, Canon and Nikon have built cameras, designed cameras for a century. If you think that a window of 3 years of their new systems isn't going to be a little bumpy and then they're going to really settle in and run, you're crazy. Like, this is what's happening, man. Yeah, the pre-cap is fun, man. So, you know, how do I put this? The pre-cap is a lot of fun. Again, I wish I could do HE star raw, so I could at least have raw files, you know? However, maybe that's a future update, but the problem I'm gonna have with it, and the reason I don't use it, is because I shoot almost like 75% of the time I'm using a strobe in one way or another. You are not doing pre-capture with a strobe. So I'm gonna try it out. I bet you it's disabled, but we'll see what happens. It's awesome though. And where did they even come up? Why would they even put that in there, right? Like, no one asked for it. It wasn't, pre-capture wasn't on anybody's feedback list when this camera came out. And everybody thought it was just gonna be one spec, the 8K 60 video, right? And here we are with, like, I mean, this camera does everything I need it to do and then some. I have ProRes raw video in body here. Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? 8K 60? Do you remember the years where it was like, oh, we can't do 4K 30? Oh, this one camera does 4K 60 with a crop? That's awesome. Now you have 8K 60 12-bit raw internal, no crop, and still somebody's gonna bitch? Please. I'm excited for what Canon's gonna respond with. Are you kidding me? They still got an R1 on deck, right? They still keep saying they got that coming. It might be very expensive, but it's gonna be cool to see the technology, right? The next step should be different compression ratio for NRAW, like Blackmagic RAW. Maybe they might do that. They might do that. I mean, they look like they're really looking at the files themselves by giving all these combinations. Can't wait to not buy the R1. Oh, stop. Listen, I think the R1 is gonna have something serious in it, and it'll be priced accordingly, but it's about having the technology out there and breaking that ice, you know? And that's what Sony did with full frame mirrorless. They broke the ice on it with all the flaws, and we moved forward with it, right? The Z9 was out of my budget, but I'm very happy with the Z7 II. And the Z7 II just got an update for better auto area autofocus, so it's only gonna get, you know, more and more intensive. Look, format, what, full frame format? Oh, the format of this video live? Look, and I'm gonna say this while I got you guys here. If there's one thing you get out of my channel, I would hope that you get, the one word I hope you guys get is genuine, right? Like, I am not hiding anything. I am not hiding from questions. I relay whatever I can relay to you guys. I'm never trying to sell you guys anything, but I would like to be kind of known out there for some credibility. I got 20 plus years of shooting under my belt. It's got to amount for something. So I have a very small channel here. I'm not known out there. I'm just a blue-collar pro photographer that shoots and is happy that I'm able to even do what I do for a living. And Adorama has empowered me in ways like no other. So to be part of that team, to be able to work with all these brands, to have all these resources, I'm so grateful for it. Even if I walk around like an angry, psychotic stress ball all the time, I can't do it without having you guys as an audience. So I would really hope that there's something you get out of this channel that helps it grow to where you can get a spec sheet spit out by anybody on YouTube, but a lot of them just follow common narratives, and I really try to find the real narrative of what's in my hands when I'm using it and why. I don't believe in golden rules and formulas, because the second there's a little variable, it all goes out the window. But if you know core values and core principles of what it is to shoot and how to shoot, and what it is about your gear and what to look for and what's of value and what isn't so valuable and what is an application of certain things like what you're getting in the Z9. I would hope that you can come to this channel and feel like you're gonna get it here. Am I opinionated? Absolutely. Will I go to war with people? You better believe it. But I really hope that this channel grows purely from a standpoint of I would like the conversation to change from clickbaity stuff that tells you things you want to hear that doesn't really work, and a community that's better informed so that we're not having a toxic world out there in these comment sections yelling at each other in these tribes, you know? Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Patty. I think Canon opened the floodgates with the R1. They need to set a statement. I think the only thing Canon do right now is a global shutter. I mean, I don't know. And then you have to ask yourself, do we need a global shutter if we're getting no blackout and all the other stuff that's coming in with this? And is a global shutter worth it when the processing power is going to cost, you know? I mean, right now, we're dealing with the age of overheating, right? We have all this data and all this processing, but the bodies are getting warm and hot. Right now, this hasn't overheated once on me, not even close. And I have ran it, you know. I'm gonna run the 8K 60 12-bit and see how warm it gets. I'm really curious about that. I've seen a couple of your videos today. Just clicked on the bell for all, and I like what you do. Thanks, Charles. Well, welcome to the channel, and please share this channel around. If you have photo nerd friends out there and you want to give them a channel to come hang out on, come hang out with me. And don't forget to join my Discord. In the description of this video is all my social. You can join me on Twitter, Discord. A lot of people in that Discord channel, you know. I think Kodak is going to release a game-changing camera. They're not dead yet. I think Kodak is going to be licensing their name out more and more, which they already do. I think that's kind of what they're doing. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. Need more straight up, no bull. Thank you very much, Psychopath. Oh, Austin. Look, I don't want to hate on other creators, and I understand that people who make this their whole livelihood have to do what they got to do to keep their numbers and stuff going. And I respect people that are working really hard on their channels, even if they put out things that I don't agree with. I respect their professionalism to do it, you know. Where is Nikon sky falling now? Well, hey, you know, right now it's a matter of building what they sold, right? I'm gonna say that 800mm lens, they're selling a lot of them. I don't know what the supply chain on that is gonna be like. I don't, you know. Thanks, Hannah, I appreciate it. And I'm going to try to post more on my Instagram. I'm going to be teaching at Shutterfest this month, so hopefully I can do another vlog. I haven't been to a trade show in 2 years, so this is going to be really interesting. I haven't taught a full-on intensive hands-on live demo in 2 years. Everything's been virtual. I've been talking to screens for 2 years. I'm very excited. Oh, except for the Halloween workshop. The Halloween workshop was special, but I think that's where I broke my back. I think that's what broke my disc, was the Halloween workshop. I don't know, but it's coincidental that the timing lined up, I'll tell you that. You get better and more real with every video. I appreciate it, Arter Bear. Appreciate it. Now they can only complain about no 1.4 glass. Well, Craig, you could say the 1.4 glass, but did you guys not read Nikon's statement that by 2025, that's in 2.5 years, they want to have over 50 lenses out there for the Z system? Do you have any idea how much glass that is? They are cranking. They cut the fat, they restructured, they took the beating. I mean, people were punching them in the back while they were working on something else. They stayed professional, they didn't go crazy, and now they're coming out with the stuff they're proud of, and good for them. And congratulations to all you loyal Nikon users and Canon. I mean, look, there's a lot of people that jumped away from Canon. The R5 was a great release for them. The R5C is being very well received by a lot of people, and you're gonna see more coming from them. Their glass is phenomenal. They're doing great things. They really are. Fuji, whoa. Fuji is so innovative, and they have so much going for them and so much to come. I'm so excited for the next wave of Fuji stuff that's coming. Keep your eyes peeled. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. I have my order for the 800-6.3, second on the list at my local shop. Try Adorama and use my affiliate link. do some more pro photo studio stuff, be 10 years here. I've been doing a lot of, everything I do has been pro photo stuff. I mean, I have a lot of live demos on this channel, and that's the other thing. And I'm really sorry if I sound like I'm like complaining right now, but I don't understand people that hold some channels in regard that they've never seen shoot. I shoot live in front of you guys from scratch. And there's channels that are literally armchair experts that are being like held to like a pedestal. I don't get it. So I take it upon myself to always shoot live at some point for you guys to reaffirm who you're getting information from. If you don't like the way I shoot, well, you can move on. But at least you know how I go about shooting. You know my methods, processes, what I'm aware of, you know. I don't just go, TTL, yay, Rembrandt lighting, yay, it's done, yay, here's 3 golden rules. Get out of here. You know, the sciatica was really bad. When I broke the disc in my back, I lost all sensation in my foot. I was having a hard time realizing if my foot was, like I was having drop foot. There was a 50-50 shot I was gonna need surgery. Luckily I didn't. Hopefully this trip I got coming up to Shutterfest and NAB in Vegas isn't gonna cause me to be back in that situation. I do have a ton of gear. Man, do I wish I had an assistant to fly with. I'll tell you that right now. You guys have any other questions? I'm also going to say predictions. Like, I think you're going to see a really interesting 400mm lens coming down the line from Nikon soon, probably smaller than you think it's going to be. And again, they've been killing on the price points. Everything's been cheaper than we've expected. That 800mm is $6,000 compared to 12 to 14 grand for a 5.6 from somebody else. You know, we're looking at the Z9 being 5,500 at 6,500, you know? The 400 lens has been on the roadmap for a bit. Yeah, and there's what's cool and what I really like is Nikon keeps putting out things that are not on the roadmap. This 24 to 120 was listed as a 24 to 105, and I was getting ready to get used to having a 24 to 105 instead of a 120. And it was funny because they know I like this lens a lot. And when they sat me down to talk about the Z9, they were like, yeah, the 24 to 105, yeah, sorry. And then they just slapped this 120 on the table, and I was like, what? And it's cheap, it's like under $1,000. The minimum focusing distance is sick. You get a function button on it. The control ring I don't use. If I have a gripe with the lenses, it's that. I hate that the control rings are back here because I'm constantly grabbing my camera and hitting it, so I just shut them off. Canon does it right. This right here is usually the control ring, right at the edge of the lens. I kind of wish that's where they put their control rings. That's a personal thing, but you know. Not gonna need to figure out to speed up Z9 production. Honestly, Justpreet, you're kind of out of line there, and I'm going to tell you why. More people have the Z9 in their hands faster in 4 months than we've seen with the Alpha 1 and definitely the R3. If I had to do a prediction, I think Adorama might be able to fulfill orders before the middle of the year. You know, I got to tell you, I see them on the street. I see people with Z9s on the street all the time. Think the new NEF formats will trickle down to the earlier Z? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see the NEF compressions in the cameras that are out now. You might see them in the next gen. You guys need to understand that they need to have the new processor. This is XPEED 6 on the Z6-1. XPEED 7. They need a version of the XPEED 7 to do a lot of the things they're doing in this. Would be fun to see you and Daniel have a shoot-off. I hate shoot-offs. I think they're just dumb. I mean, I shouldn't say dumb. I just think that they're like so subjective, and then you're at the judgment of people who you don't know, and they just tell you who sucks and who's not. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that. I don't enjoy it. I don't, you know. I've never been this like talk trash competitive type guy. So I just don't get into it. Yeah, that's not going to be a thing, Marcus. Man, my voice is killing me. I have I have a voice amplifier for the classes coming up. I'm hoping I don't blow my vocal cords out. So I think the Z6 II and 7 II will still get updates, but you are not going to see features, full features trickle in. I don't think you're going to see it. Seth, can you test the Z9 RAW versus Blackmagic? I don't have a Blackmagic or a Komodo. I know. I know a guy who does have a 6K. Someone's going to do that, Jasper. I'm pretty sure you're going to see a channel do that. If anything, Gerald Undone is probably going to be all over that. And Gerald is awesome. Gerald does really good videos. He's super thorough, and he knows Blackmagic RAW inside and out. I don't know. I will say that compared to the Blackmagic, the Z9 is built like an indestructible tank. I'll say that. So there's that. Seth being told by Camera Store while working here in Nevada that the Z9 is outselling the A1 by far. Wait, what? You're being told by a Camera Store. You are being told by a Camera Store in Nevada that the Z9 is outselling the A1. Yeah, but that's not surprising when you realize the price point differences. Like the A1 is selling to who it's supposed to sell to. The Sony Pro, the Sony person that's going to make money back from it, or the rich guy that wants it. But $5,500 Z9 is a little more tangible for people, easier to pay off. You can get that extra lens if you have the resources. It's not as hard of a hit. $1,000, I mean, that's 1/6 the price higher. You know, it's a good chunk, man. If you ever want to see a Z6 II melt, have it run the Z9 calculation. Yeah, nah, I don't think that's gonna happen, Jose. By the way, how are you, Jose? I haven't seen you in a while. Seth, have you tried the Z9 with F lenses and the adapter? Yeah, so I have tried the Z9 with the F mount adapter. Is that FTZ adapter? In fact, I use it with this lens all the time. This is one of my favorite from the F mount. This is an 8 to 15 millimeter zoom fisheye. It is super fun. It goes from circular fisheye. Oh, can you even see it zoom? It goes from circular. So I always keep the adapter on it. What I'm going to say is these lenses actually respond faster to me on Z mount and settle in faster on the autofocus. What you fail to have is the motor be as efficient as a Z-mount lens. The focus breathing is almost always corrected on a Z-mount lens, so for video work. And the noise, these are always audibly noisier. Man, oh, I'm getting hiccups. Audibly noisier. So if you're shooting video, it sucks to have that on your video. F-mount lenses, you can definitely feel it. You know, you can hear it a little bit, and you can definitely see the focus breathing. But other than that, it does respond faster. It does settle in faster. It's just not going to be as fast as the actual native lenses, I feel. That's all. I want to see people create film cinema look using that. It just came out, and no one even has a way to process it except for DaVinci. So give it a minute, Jaspreet. I know you're like a cinema guy. You comment all the time, and I get it. But this thing just came out. No one knows what to make of it yet. Like, calm a little bit down. Gotta say that. We're going to be seeing a lot of file-to-file comparisons out there on channels, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure Nikon's going to put out their own example videos, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So, wow, have I been going for this long already? Has it been an hour and a half? This is crazy. I was going to be like, hey, let's talk for 5 seconds. I hit up Ricci and asked him if he wanted to come on. He was like, another night. So maybe we'll do a live with Ricci and we'll go back and forth. But I'm kind of tired of talking about the Z9. It's awesome. They keep on making it more awesome. I'm very happy that I bought it. I'm very happy with the performance and what I'm shooting with it. I'm very happy with the files I'm getting out of it. It's really one of these cameras that will be remembered in a moment in this industry for sure. Like, this is this is a splash and a dent for sure. It's a mark on this industry, and congratulations to Nikon and to all Nikon users for, you know, being rewarded for being, you know, loyal. Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely. Are you having issues using wireless transmitting to FTP? I haven't done any of that, Gustavo, so I can't speak to that. Ricci has been busy, and my man's traveling around. So, yeah, if you can, guys, hitting like really helps out. We have about 80 people in the chat. There's only about 40 likes. If you guys could hit like, I'd appreciate it. If you could share this channel to some friends, let them know that they can come hang out here and we can be photo nerds and not hate each other like everywhere else. That'd be great, you know? Nikon should reach out to the guy who created Phantom LUTs. He literally replicated Arria Mira. Well, they're claiming that the Nikon RAW can match other RAW files out there to not give you an issue. So we'll see what happens. No problem, guys. Please join my Discord. The link is down there. If you want to support this channel, there's the buy a coffee link if you really want to. Hit me up on Twitter. Please add me on Instagram. I am like 200 away from finally getting out of 19K. I would like to see 20K happen on my Instagram. It's been like 4 years I've been stuck at 19K. If you guys want to help me out there, I'd really appreciate it. To all you guys that did hit subscribe, thank you so much. We are over 9,000 strong on this channel, and I can't believe it. Every day I can't believe it. I really hope this keeps on growing. I will keep on giving as much as I can to this channel as it's growing. Other than that, I will see you guys on the Adorama channels for sure. And listen, whatever you guys do out there, just be good to each other. Enough with this tribal yelling at each other like you're stupid. Stop regurgitating things you heard and start sharing your actual experiences. And, you know, let's start building a better community out there, okay? Share what you're experienced with, share your experiences. Stop regurgitating things you heard. Stop doing the weird facts that don't really mean anything. Start helping others, okay, guys? I will see you guys soon. Maybe I'll see you in my Discord, yeah? But for now, I hope you guys have a great evening if you're here in New York. If you're somewhere else, you know, whatever else. Be good, guys. Take care, all right?